Welcome all, Raymond for Stream Gamers. Today's video is going to be about Microsoft Flight Sim 2024. Hopefully the caption and picture and all that will demonstrate that. So today I want to talk about when should you buy it, when should you buy it, or when would I buy it, in the decision process that I go through in order to make the decision. What flavor should I be buying, right? So we have a multitude of flavors that we can buy, right? Now, of course, this is the Steam edition, but this is also purchased on you can also purchase it on Microsoft store. Okay, so here's the what you get. Standard edition 70 aircraft, 150 airports, 80 in deluxe and 155, premium 95 and 160. And I'm not going to spend too much time talking about the Aviators edition for a couple of reasons. Myself personally, I don't know that there's any value for me in it personally. I will touch on it briefly, but so here you can see 125 aircraft and 160 airports. Okay. So the airports don't really change from the premium edition. I believe I've got that right. And each one of these headings are not, an additional 80 aircraft over the 70, for example, and an additional 155 over 150. It's each package. For example, the deluxe edition includes all of this, and then you get an additional 5 aircraft, an additional 5 airports. Right, and so forth, and the list goes on and on. Anyways, so one of the reasonings, or one of the things that I use to make these decisions as to what I should or should not do have to do with dollars and cents, obviously. Should I spend the dollars and cents in doing this, and is there for me a value? So Microsoft Flight Sim 2020, I did a bit of a deep dive in the decision making as to what I should buy or not buy. And as I was doing that, I kind of very quickly got mesmerized. Now, we didn't have the Aviators edition, but I very quickly got mesmerized by, well, get it all, and then you'll have it all, and you'll want for nothing. Which is a not necessarily a bad way of looking at it. I thought about it back in those days. I thought it was a good idea to do it because just get it all and I don't have to worry about it. Now, having the sim for the period of time in which I've had the sim for, I realized that I for myself personally, and these are my personal views, I'm just providing the information so that you can hopefully get some feeling for what you should or shouldn't buy. Based on my opinion, and if that counts for anything, which in some circles maybe not at all. Anyways, I personally went with, in Microsoft 2020, I went with the Premium Deluxe Edition because I wanted the 787. That was an aircraft that I wanted. There was enough hype about it, thinking, as it was going to come out, I was like, yeah, okay, I want that aircraft. But when it came out, for the first probably 2 years or more, it was for my tastes, aircraft flew fine. It wasn't anything that the aircraft did that was wrong. It just was so far away from complete that I never really flew it a lot, just because so many of the systems didn't work. And those that watch my videos understand that I like to do things from cold to dark, and I want to go through the entirety of the process and all of that kind of stuff. And so you miss a lot. I missed a lot because I couldn't do that with a 787. And so I didn't fly it a lot. Now, in the last year or so, they've corrected some of the missing in-op items and so forth, and they've done a good job of that. But I've kind of moved on, and I don't fly it a lot. I do fly the 777, the recent addition to the PMDG, and I like it. So, and I'm going to come back to that discussion in a little bit. So now I'm going to kind of go through here and kind of give you my take on, and this is for my flying purposes only. but also a little bit to deal with to deal with everybody else's way of doing it as well. So let me get myself set up here. Just give me a moment here, and I've gone and lost my spot where I am. I apologize for that. I had right. Okay. So make this big screen so we can see it. So if we just look at the standard edition, no matter what we buy, we're going to for sure buy the standard edition. That's regardless. If you're going to buy it, this will be for sure the one that you'll buy at the minimum, and then you'll move up in the ranks. Okay. So let's go over some of the aircraft in the decision making for myself. First of all, there being as many of these aircraft as there are in this sim, it begs the question: how many of these aircraft do you fly, and do you fly on a semi-regular basis? Not even a regular, but just semi-regular basis. So I've asked myself that question, and so when I look at all of the aircraft that I fly on a regular basis, even semi-regular basis, I'll fly a TBM, I'll fly the King Air, I'll fly the 777, I'll fly the A320, I'll fly the A310. I fly that one a lot, the A310. Those are kind of the aircrafts that I will fly. I do a little bit of helicopter flying, but it's not a big thing to me. And in the fact that I see one helicopter there and I see one there, I see another one there, and I also know that the community is going to be making a lot of different freeware aircraft that I can go check out and test out to make sure that I like it before I actually buy it, kind of a thing. And that's where Microsoft Flight Sim 2020 is right now. Okay, so knowing those are the aircraft that I fly, they are all encompassed in the standard edition, with the exception of the 787. But I said to myself, okay, if I want to get the 787, well, in Canada, this is where I am. The pricing on these things go from $89, $129, $89, $129, and $169. Of course, it's Canadian currency. But that's what I pay in is Canadian currency. So those are the things that I have to kind of look at and to make decisions based on those price points, right? And the value of those price points. So standard edition, I get my A310, which is right there. So I can fly that one. That's great. I get the Neo A320 and the A320 ILR, which is a new aircraft, A321, sorry, which is a new aircraft. So I get that. That's great. I get an A330, new aircraft. That's good. I likely won't ever fly this thing, but maybe. I'm not a huge military pilot flying military aircraft, but if I would like to, I could fly that one, right? I got my General Aviation 152, 172. I got a Cessna Citation. And so I'm just looking at these aircraft as I filter through them and making decisions which ones I will fly. And is there enough aircraft in here for me to fly on a regular basis that I would like to fly? If I fly pontoon, I can fly this one. It's new. If you do the pre-order, you get that one. So I could fly this one. I could fly this pontoon one as well. And there'll be more. There's another one here. And yeah, like I say, there'll be more. I get some of the uniqueness, the hot air balloon, which is one right here that I'm very much looking forward to checking out, as well as this airship. Okay. So far, I'm looking at this thing to myself, yeah, this is a decent package. Now, let me try to justify why I need to step up and say get the deluxe edition. what is in the deluxe edition that I might be interested in flying, and flying on a regular basis. Okay. Um, in here, I don't see anything in here that, for me, my tastes, that interest me, that I would fly on a regular basis that would justify for me going from $89 to $129, right? I mean, we're $50. I have to spend another $50 to go from here to here. And of course, in U.S. funds, that'll change just like it will change if you were in New Zealand, or if you were in Europe, summers. Those dollars and cents are all going to change. But I'd have to spend another $50 to get this. And would I fly anything here with any level of consistency? For my personal tastes, I would not. I would not, probably not fly any of these things on a regular basis that could justify me spending the $50. But if I were to, okay, let's say for example, I would fly this 58, this Bearing 58, which I do from time to time. Currently fly the 58 once in a while, but I just don't fly. I would probably say I would fly an aircraft like this maybe a handful of times a year if I had it. So let's just assume that I made the decision. I'm going to spend the extra $50 because I want to fly that aircraft. Okay, very good. And keep in mind, I get almost certain in flightsim.to there's going to be these aircraft, maybe not well modeled and so forth, to fly, study level or whatever, but they're going to be there for free. And this isn't going to be study level either. Quite honestly, it isn't. If you want study level aircraft, you need to go to third-party creators that actually create these things closer to study level. Microsoft's releases are not going to be that. That's just my opinion. Take it for what it is, right? But now I've spent the extra $50 and I got this aircraft. Okay, so now to go from the 129 to 169, I got to spend another $40, and that'll get me into the deluxe edition. Okay. So what am I going to fly in here that I might have some interest in? Well, I might have interest in the Saab 340 because that's what I like. I wouldn't mind that aircraft. I might fly the 787, although I have it now, and I never fly it. And I haven't. I've flown it, but a handful of times, maybe in the last year and a half. Maybe 4 or 5 times in the last year and a half, because I have the 777, and before that I was flying A310 a lot. In replacement of that, I was also flying the Boeing 737, PMDG 737. Let's rewind that back a little bit, and let's just quickly discuss that briefly. You do also get the 737 MAX. Now, it's new, and I don't know the condition of it. Nobody actually does, I don't think. Is it that 737 MAX that was being peddled for $20 some time ago, that the developer said that they would develop it and they would update it and it would get better and better and better, and it never did? No, I shouldn't say it never did. I stopped using it and stopped looking at it for updates because I never got any. And in my opinion, although it was nice to have a 737 MAX, and although it was only $20, the developer, in my opinion, didn't follow through with what she said they were going to do. Now, recently they may have, I don't know. So I don't know the status of that, and how good that's going to be or not going to be, but there's a 737 MAX there. And if that's of any decent quality, I'll likely fly that a bit too. But it comes in the standard edition. Right, so here we are in the Premium Deluxe. Like I said, I might fly the Saab, I might fly the 787, although if history is a predictor, I'm probably not going to, because I don't fly the 787. We don't have the Saab 340 other than some free version of it, which last time I checked wasn't very good. Anyways, so I go down here and I'm spending all of this money for an aircraft, for all of the aircraft, with the exception of these, and I'll briefly touch on that. But if I do this, I'm spending $170 plus, of course, we in Canada, have to pay tax on that, which is another 12%, and you do the math and it runs around $880 and change, right? So spend $180, and for what? I might fly the Saab once in a while, I might fly this once in a while, I might fly the Bearing once in a while, but likely not. And my bread and butter is going to be all here in the standard edition. And then the final thing about the aircraft that I want to talk about is how many flight hours do you have in a day, in a day or a week, a month, a year, whatever, however you want to add this up. How many flight hours do you have time to fly aircraft? And in those flight hours, what is your preference of flight? Are you a general aviation aircraft? Do you like piston aircraft? Do you like turbo aircraft? Do you like twins? Do you like 4-engine aircraft? Do you like watercraft? Do you like helicopters? Which is the genre of aircraft that you typically fly on a regular basis? So for me, I'll just point it out. I do some general aviation flying around. I enjoy flying the 152. Hand flying, not with autopilot and all that. I like flying it like that. I enjoy flying the King Air 350. I do some FS economy flying, and I fly that King Air 350 quite a bit within that area, and so I enjoy doing that. And I fly some tube liners. I fly the A310 a lot, even though I have the PMDG 737, PMDG 7777. I still fly the A310 a fair amount. I enjoy it. It's fun. I will fly those other ones once in a while, but not very often. So again, I look at all of this and say to myself, how many flight hours a week do I have? Let's call it. Let's say I'm going to fly. Let's call it 10 to 15 hours a week. Okay. Now, if I get 10 to 15 hours a week, how many aircraft can I fly in 10 to 15 hours a week? If I were to fly one aircraft for an hour, I could fly, in theory, I could fly 10 to 15 different aircraft throughout the week. Well, you've got a lot of aircraft here, right? There's a lot of aircraft here. If we look at the standard edition, there's 70 aircraft. By the time you rotated through all of these aircraft and come back to it again, you would be 6 weeks in before you even got back to the same one. For example, if you started here and went, okay, I'm going to fly this one, then this one, then this one, then this one, then this. You know what I mean? So you got a lot of aircraft. So, anyways, and this is in no way. I want to kind of put this caveat out there a little bit. This is in no way to diminish Microsoft Flight Sim 2024. It is just my personal experience in buying 2020 and now making a decision to buy 2024. Where should I go? What should I do? And why I'm going to make that particular decision. Okay, so that covers aircraft. Now, yes, there are airports, and when we look at airports, I believe if I click on this link, it will take me to this spot right here somewhere, maybe. Well, maybe not. I can't remember, but anyways, so there is 70 standard, or there are 70 customized airports that you get, okay, in the standard edition. And then you get an additional 10 more for the let me back that up. You get 150 airports, not 70. You get 150 airports in the standard edition, and you get 155. So you get an additional 5 airports, and for that, I need to spend, have I done the math right? 90 and 30 is 40. I did the math wrong. I said it was 50. And somebody will correct that, I'm sure. Anyways, so I'm going to get 10 extra aircraft, and I'm going to get 5 extra airports for $40. And if you're just looking at the volume of aircraft, and more is better, yes. It's kind of the theory. I spoke to a friend of mine. It's kind of the theory that the grocery store has on sale 2 heads of lettuce for 30 cents more than the price of one, and the person says to themselves, well, I'm going to buy the 2 heads of lettuce. That makes sense. I get almost twice as much for maybe 10% more. That's a good deal. It's a good deal. The problem is that the head of lettuce, the second head of lettuce, and at least in our household, the second head of lettuce is going to go bad before I even get to eat it, which means I've spent 30 cents more to buy one head of lettuce. Marketing strategy, it's great, works great. I'm not saying Microsoft is doing that here, but ask yourself, how many of these aircraft are you going to fly? How many of the airports are you actually going to recognize and get value out of them? So, for example, 150 airports here. When I fly, I don't fly in the world. I don't fly, exclusively in Canada, let's say, for example. I don't just fly in Canadian airports and only Canadian airports. And I suspect nobody does that. I have a friend of mine who flies a lot. He's from the U.S. and he flies a lot in the U.S. He doesn't fly exclusively, but he flies probably, I'm going to guess that I know of the flights he does, probably 70-80% in the U.S. And he has a couple of routes that he flies. He flies tube liners, and he has a couple of routes that he flies, and that's what he likes to do. So great. Make sure you get those 3, 4, 5 airports that you really, really like. And if that means you have to upgrade to get those airports because you fly in and out of them all the time and you get value out of the scenery all the time, then I would do that. For my tastes, I don't. I fly a little bit in the U.S. I fly a little bit in Canada. I fly a little bit in Europe. I fly a little bit in Asia. I fly a little bit all over the world. So for me, these airports, 150 airports versus 155 or 160 airports, I'm never going to get value out of them. Now, there are a few key airports that I do fly in and out of on a semi-regular basis, and those airports are generally in the standard edition. So, for example, Chicago, LA, New York, London, these airports, they're in the standard edition, right? I'm not sure about the London one. Maybe that may not be. Anyways, but for the most part, those airports are in where I fly. And now the second thing about airports like aircraft, the flight sim community is a very, very diverse group of individuals who are creating content endlessly. Some paid content, some free content, but there is content. So I have another fellow that I fly with on a regular basis, and New York in 2020 default scenery is okay. It's not spectacular, but it's okay. And he has a number of add-on packages that he got through flightsim.to for free, and he's put them in. And I compare my experience to his, and his is considerably better than what mine is. The buildings are sharper, and it's more detailed. It's the buildings are a lot better when you get closer up to them. Anyways, and he's done that all for free. So my guess is that's exactly what's going to happen again. The 2024 flight sim is going to come out. Some of these aircraft that we get here are going to be decent-ish. The new ones are probably going to be, maybe not as good as what they could be. I hope I'm wrong about this. I hope that Microsoft has kind of learned and said, hey, listen, when we release a new aircraft, the community is expecting it to be better than the basic aircraft. They're expecting something a little bit more. I'm hoping Microsoft does that, and likewise for all of these new additions. I'm hopeful that those new additions are going to be better than what they were before. Because quite honestly, I feel, from my personal opinion, I feel I made a decision to buy Microsoft 2020, the Premium Deluxe Edition, and had I spent the time to research it like I did on this go round, I likely would not have bought it. I would likely have bought the Standard Edition, just the same as, and now the cat's out of the bag. It's the same edition that I bought and pre-ordered this time. Now I've pre-ordered the Standard Edition because I cannot justify buying all of this stuff and having it all and never flying it. I have right now in Microsoft 2020, I have a whack load of aircraft in there that I quite honestly have never flown since the inception. For example, the DA60, I've never flown it. not my aircraft, don't like it, it's not a big thing to me, could care less about it. But I have it. And there's a number of other aircraft that I have in Microsoft Flight Sim 2020 that I don't ever fly, yet I have them because I bought the Premium Deluxe Edition. So let's kind of, in closing, let's kind of go with wrap this all kind of up a little bit and say, well, you know, in the Standard Edition, when it comes to aircraft, in my mind, there's a good mix of aircraft that if you want to fly, there's a good mix of it. There's a good mix of tube liners. There's a good mix of, you know, light general aviation type aircraft. There's a good mix of watercraft. There's a good mix of helicopters, and so on and so on. Natively, there's a good mix, right? There is some older vintage aircraft. There's not as much, and I think we find some of those more older vintage aircraft in the Aviators edition. So if you're of that type of a pilot and you like to fly those really, you know, old vintage aircraft, you know, maybe the Aviator edition is your thing. I don't care for that type of thing. There's a good mix of, or there is some military aircraft. So if I wanted to fly military, which I don't, but if I did, you know, there's some military aircraft, some jets, some jet fighters and whatnots, you know. So yeah, there's a good mix for me. In terms of the airport, like I said previously, in terms of the airports, I'm not a guy that wants to go by an airport and go fly in and out of there once or twice and then never fly there again, because that's likely what I'm going to do. I want to experience the world, more of the world than just you know, 100 different airports when there's, I don't know how many, 60, 70,000 different airports, or I can't remember how many there was. I forget what the total was. But I don't want to go to the same airport. That's the bottom line. So do I care that, you know, from Standard Edition I get 150 airports and Premium Deluxe I get 160? Do I care about those 10 airports? Look through the list. I did have a list here. And I thought I had found it, but look through the list of those airports that you get, and if there are airports in there that are an absolute must, then by all means go to that edition, right? If they're a must. And I'll link in the comment section some information where you can kind of look at these different airports and aircraft, so you can see them for yourself. And you can see, you know, what aircrafts come in what package and what airports come in what package. So that I'm aware of, none of the like the photo gallery, like the career mode, none of those things are dependent on the Standard versus Deluxe versus Premium Deluxe. You get all of that natively. With the Standard Edition. The way I understand it, the only thing that changes from one edition to the next is the amount of aircraft and the amount of airports. So that's my decision for pre-ordering the Standard Edition. In the pre-order of the Standard Edition, you get this aircraft right here, which is, I've flown it a little bit. Now, you do get this in 2020 now if you buy it now. And so I've flown it a little bit in 2020. It's okay. But water aircraft are not my thing. I'm not a big fan of it. Now, I did it because I wanted to check out a supposed release of 2024 aircraft. What are the qualities of it? Okay, so that I could kind of extrapolate, or so that I could kind of compare what it was like when I did 2020 and what it might be like as a new aircraft in 2024. So let's talk about that aircraft a little bit. It, as I said, it's okay. I don't know the aircraft very well, but I will say that it seems like it's not on par with the quality of aircraft that we're currently flying in Microsoft 2020. You know, most of the aircraft in Microsoft 2020, it's not on par with that. It's a little less than that. It's not quite as good. Some of the flight dynamics don't seem right to me, but maybe they are. Some of the functions don't work, or they're inoperative, I believe. So, are they doing the same thing that they did the last time when you bought the premium deluxe edition and you got all these fantastic aircraft, and yes, they were there in the sim, but they just weren't well put together. I fear that that's what's happened, and I fear that's what's going to happen, because it kind of suggests that to me in flying this one. It kind of suggests that the new ones, that the new aircraft in the sim are going to be okay, but they're not going to be as good as the polished versions of the 2020 aircraft that they have right now. So keep that in mind when you're making these decisions to go to, this premium deluxe, thinking to yourself, you're going to get this Boeing 737 water bomber, and it's going to be like perfect. I think you run a chance of having this be better, because I think it'll be just a derivative of the 747 here, just skinned differently and that kind of stuff. But this aircraft being a completely new aircraft, not being in 2020, you may find that is still a work in progress. All right. Raymond, for Stream Gamers, I would love to see a like, a comment, a subscribe. Good comments, bad comments, say even unlikes, I suppose, if there was something you didn't like about the video. Please go ahead and comment about, if you have any thoughts, things that maybe I didn't cover. I do have a video that's coming out about 2024 and performance. If you haven't seen it already, it's coming out. And it kind of goes to the discussion about Microsoft Flight Sim 2024's performance. I believe I already released that, actually. But go back and look at that video about Microsoft Flight 2020, Microsoft Flight Sim 2024, and its performance, and whether you should think about upgrading your computer. I'll try to remember to link that also into the comment section, so you can kind of look at that and my take on it as well. I did do the alpha tests, so I did fly it around a bit. I flew around a little parts of the world, 4 or 5 different places around the world. Anyways, enough of this rambling. We're just filling in space for the sake of filling in space. That's it. That's as far as this goes. As always, enjoy it. Enjoy your flying time. Be kind. Love life. Do the right things, and all those wonderful things that our parents and grandparents have taught us. Anyways, enough of that. Bye-bye now.